What if the reason you're still waiting, still trying, still stuck in that push pull with money is because the way you're holding on to what you want, the way you're holding on to the abundance that you want, the way you are stepping into the creation of the money that you want is ever so slightly quietly rooted in fear or control or lack. It's not because you haven't done enough spiritual work or aligned your launch plan just right, right? That abundance that you're seeking isn't coming because most people are trying to manifest abundance from a place of management, managing the outcome, managing the emotions, managing the desire, managing the energy, really truly managing themselves. But manifestation does not thrive in this feeling state of managed energy. It thrives from a place of receiving energy. Receiving energy cannot be micromanaged or controlled or worried into existence. Receiving energy has to be embodied, something that you become, something that you radiate, something that you remember how to reactivate in every cell of your body. The embodiment of receiving is the missing link behind manifestation. To say it a different way, you don't have a strategy problem in your business. You have a receiving problem within you and your mind, body, soul, energy system. The good news is once you realize that, that's going to change everything about how you manifest, everything about all of the tools you already have in your tool belt to create. And ultimately, it's going to change how you get the abundance that you want. Hello, beautiful souls. It's Jennifer Bloome, a Soul Abundance Guide. And for those of you who are still getting to know me, I work with spiritually savvy business owners who are frustrated because no matter the action that they're taking, no matter the spiritual tools that they're using, they're still not receiving the money or, let's be real, the freedom that they really want. So I help these business owners unearth the deeper soul level stories that are blocking abundance and help transform those stories so that you can create more wealth, more space, more joy than you have ever had before. Because it's not, for me, it's not just about the money. Money is a cherry on the top, honestly. It's about freedom, it's about joy, it's about being that person that you meant to be, being that soul that you meant to be. And being the person you meant to be and being the soul you're meant to be is not about perfection. It's not about creating a certain level of income. It's not about reaching a certain number of people. To me, it is being able to express what it is that my soul came here to do and to see that, feel that, witness that being received by other people. You can start this journey with me for free at abundanceheartbreak.com. So I'm going to invite you to go over there and to get started with an experiential uh, experiential experience. That seems kind of right. Uh, with with an experiential opportunity that is going to help you get started in this journey of really truly being able to create what it is that you want to create. Now, today is episode 3 of Receiving Rewired. Today's episode, we're going to address how to rewire the real root of inconsistent abundance. And my focus is in business, but honestly, this applies everywhere. And that's an important thing to note for future conversations. All right. Um, if you feel like you are chasing something down, like you're chasing after that abundance, chasing after that business community, chasing after that launch, instead of receiving them, that is your soul inviting you to a deeper truth. Okay. So let's go there. Let's see what your soul is asking for here. And I want to start from this place of why so many manifestation practices eventually feel kind of flat. You know, they used to work, right? When you first learned about manifestation, when you first started applying manifestation tools, they started to work. But then they only sort of worked, and then now they're not working for you, or they're working for you inconsistently. Let's dig into what's really happening underneath, because this is going to tell the broader story of being able to rewire yourself, your mind, body, soul system into one that is embodying receiving. Okay. If your manifestation practice feels more like a job than something that you do with joy or excitement or possibility, if you are constantly efforting to make it happen, right? If you wake up in the middle of the night, it's like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do tomorrow? How am I going to make this work? How am I going to make those numbers this month? How am I going to fill in the blank? Okay. It's not like you're doing it wrong, meaning you're not doing your business wrong. You're not doing manifestation wrong. But when you have that focus on doing and making, you are trying to manifest. You're trying to use this magic of the universe through a pattern that says, I have to control the outcome. That pattern of having to control, and I say this with great love in my heart because I have witnessed it in myself. I don't do it as much as I used to, although there are still times where I notice myself grasping and working to control. So if you have this kind of, I need to control the outcome pattern, it's really ineffective and it's exhausting. I have seen this over and over and over in myself, as I said, and in the people that I coach. We say that we trust. We say we've surrendered. We've set our intentions. We've said the affirmations. We've done the big vision. And we've even taken aligned action, right? So on the surface, everything looks like it's in order. Everything looks like we're doing what we need to do in order to work with the power of the universe. But beneath the surface is a whole other story. Beneath the surface, we are still trying to manage our manifestations like it's a project plan with a deadline that is either pass or fail. And if we don't put all the effort in, if we don't do all the things, then it's going to be a fail. So we are managing this manifestation process instead of being in partnership with life, instead of being in partnership with the universe. Right? We're doing all of the doing instead of being in partnership. And as part of that process, not only are we not in partnership with life, but we are subtly performing for it. So we've taken all of the rules of capitalism, we've taken all of the rules of how you're supposed to be in business, and we're applying it to the manifestation world. We're applying it to working with life. We're applying it to working with the physics and the math of the universe. And we're still trying to prove we've done enough to earn the outcome. We're still trying to make something happen. And the energy of that, all kinds of internal contradiction. One part of you is stepping into the space of calling in what you want, calling in your desire, calling in abundance, setting yourself up to be this partner with life, the partner with universe. And then the other part of you is gripping the outcome so tightly that there's no room for receiving to actually happen. There's no room for the universe to get involved. So, what happens next when you stay in that contradictory energy, when you stay in that contradictory pattern of doing? It's pretty clear that you burn out. Your results are inconsistent at best. And what is even more detrimental to how you're going to be in business for however long you choose to be in business is you start questioning yourself. Right? The launch doesn't go as you expected. You put out a new coaching program and crickets. Or 1 month you get, you go to a beautifully full calendar, and then the next 3 months, crickets. Right? So in the middle of all of that, you start questioning yourself. Did I miss a sign? Did I not align enough? Did I not want it in the right way? Is there something wrong with me? Did I skip a step? Did I not do enough? Did I not choose the right strategy? Blah, 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 blah. Right? On and on. In fact, I would be curious what comes up for you, right? When you get in this cycle of doing all of the things that you think are going to help you create, and then it falls flat, what's your inner critic say? Drop that in the comments. Okay? And it's really important to identify this, because the words from your inner critic are the thought seeds that grow into abundance heartbreak. Right? Abundance heartbreak happens when that thing that should be yours, right? You feel it so deeply to your core that what this message that you have is meant to be, that this work in the world that you're doing is meant to be, like, you are put on this planet to do this work. Or down to your cellular structure that you are meant for more. You're meant for more abundance. You're meant for more visibility. You're built for being seen and heard in a completely different way. Okay? And then it doesn't happen. That's what I call abundance heartbreak. And when we get in that cycle of abundance heartbreak, it freezes us in our tracks. It gets us to that point of saying, I don't want to do this anymore. And again, what's wrong with me? What's the mistake happening here? Why can't I do it? All of those people know how to do it. Why can't I do it? And so it freezes you. It stops you in your tracks. Right? So on the one hand, you've got this questioning happening in your head. And before you completely freeze, there's this stage where, because you know it should be happening, you double down on everything that you're trying to do. You double down on the action. You double down on the spiritual tools. And before you know it, this process of manifestation, the steps that to and what I want to take a sidestep here. When I think about manifestation, I think about consciously co-creating with the magic of the universe, consciously creating with that universal goo that is out there, that you are impressing your desires on and then allowing things to come in, right? there's a real there's a real magic, and I don't mean rabbit in the hat kind of magic. There's this really deep rooted connected magic that you're working with when you're doing manifestation. But when you're caught up in abundance heartbreak, when you're caught up in the losses, and there's that part of your brain that says that I know that there's a way through this. I'm just going to do, I'm going to do, I'm going to do, I'm going to do, I'm going to do, right? Manifestation then, instead of being this luscious magical partnership with life, it becomes just another item on your to-do list, another thing that you're passing or failing at. It stops feeling like possibility. It stops feeling like you've tapped into divinity. It stops feeling like you are expressing your deepest self. And instead, it starts feeling like pressure. It starts feeling like one more thing that didn't work. And maybe you even get to that point of feeling a little naive or gullible, because this radically different approach to getting what you want didn't work for you. Maybe you even get to that point of feeling like, I'm not a good manifester. I don't know how to do this. But when you say that, what you're saying is, I don't know the steps of this. If somebody could just give me the formula, if somebody could just write down the ABCD, right? I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes. If it's standing on my head for 3 months, I'll do it. Right? So you get to that point of feeling like, I just don't know how to manifest. But that's not the problem. You don't have a manifestation problem. You know all of the steps. Where the problem lies is that you have a receiving foundation that hasn't been fully wired to accept receiving, to accept this co-creation with divinity around you. There's something about receiving that isn't safe or is an unknown. And when that happens, when receiving is unsafe or unknown, your whole system is going to try to work around that by over efforting, over controlling, even over spiritualizing, right? You stop doing any sort of external action, and instead you're focused in this in trying to be in that spiritual plane all the time. And we're a 3D planet. There's things that we have to do here on the planet. Okay. So all of that being said, that's what's creating this feeling of flatness around manifestation, or the fatigue or the frustration. Right? To sum all of this up, if the process of working with the universe, if manifestation has stopped feeling joyful, if it feels more like effort than ease, you're not broken. It's not that you don't know how. You're simply being invited to go deeper. You're invited to heal the foundation you're manifesting from. Acknowledging this, knowing this, is where the shift begins. So, to peel back another layer, let's take a closer look at the energetic difference between controlling the outcome and co creating the outcome. Because once you feel the difference, you can choose something entirely new for yourself. Right? Here's the question I want you to ask yourself. If you've been doing all the right things, meaning you've studied all the laws, you know your business inside and out, and you're doing all the right things, and if you're still not getting those results, here's what I want you to ask yourself. Am I in relationship with my desire for abundance? Or am I trying to control it into existence? So let me say that again. Am I in a relationship with my desire for abundance? Or am I trying to control it into existence? When you're working with manifestation, one of the phrases that you hear a lot is aligned action, right? So we think that, and it's not just that we think that, when you are working in a co-creative space with life, with the divine, with source, universal goo, whatever word it is you want to use here, when you're in that co-creative space, you do want to take aligned action. And aligned action means I am open enough to hear my soul. I'm open enough to hear the whisper from the universe. I'm open enough to feel that nudge, and then I take my action. And I wait for that nudge before I take action. However, when you are in that space of not having that receiving foundation within you, often the real energy behind aligned action is control. Sometimes what looks like spiritual strategy is actually just this really beautifully disguised, very sneaky control. And here's what control energy is going to sound like inside your head, right? It's on me. I need to figure this all out. I need to do it right. I must be missing something. Oh, I just need to tweak it just one more time before I trust that the website's ready to go, before I trust that this launch is ready to go. Let me tweak it just a little bit more. I just need a little bit more time. Okay. Control energy can also look like checking your launch stats 10 times a day, or over analyzing why the money hasn't come in yet, or over analyzing how you need to get the money to come in, right? Trying to be intuitive and manage your clients and your team, right? It's freaking exhausting. That need to be in that space of control is freaking exhausting, and it doesn't work. It might work here and there, but it is absolutely not sustainable. Why? Because control is your body's way of saying, I don't feel safe unless I'm in charge of every possible outcome. Control is the body's way of saying, if I don't do it, nobody else will. Control is the body's way of saying, if I don't manage it, I won't ever get what I want. Nobody else wants it as much as I do. I am the only one who is going to be able to make this happen. And to the untrained ear, maybe that sounds like a really good thing. It's true. You know, I remember having a conversation with my mom who had visited a restaurant in her town, and it was the second or third restaurant that the owners had opened in the town, and it wasn't a chain, but they were creating more restaurants. I guess it's a local chain, right? It wasn't a national chain. They were creating more restaurants, and she went, and she said it was just such a disappointment. Things just weren't quite like that original restaurant. And her opinion was that it couldn't possibly be the same, because as they created more restaurants, the owners themselves, the founders of this restaurant, they were getting further and further removed from the day-to-day interactions. And her opinion is that nobody is going to do it the way you do it. You can have a training program, but there's something about that person's essence in a restaurant that is going to make it be. And she's not wrong. Okay. So there's some layer of truth here. But behind that layer of truth, at the very root of saying, I have to be the one to do this, is fear, it's worry, it's distrust. And when you plant your actions with those kind of roots, you are going to create a mismatch with universal energy. Not only are your actions being planted from fear and worry and distrust, but you also fill up all the parts of you that are meant to receive, but you can't receive because they're all filled with fear and worry and distrust. So you are manifesting, right? Here's the kicker. You are manifesting. You are creating. You're just manifesting more experiences to prove that you are right to be fearful or worried or distrustful. So it isn't even that manifestation isn't working for you. It's just not working for you the way that you want it to. You're manifesting more of the same and more of the same and more of the same. And that's a really easy pattern to fall into when you're in that place of feeling like you have to control the outcome, when you are the only one who can make something happen. Co-creation and aligned action is something completely different. It has a completely different feel and sound at the root. When you are actively in that space of co-creating, what you're going to feel, not just say, but feel down to the core of your being, things like, I trust the unseen. I can hold my want, my desire with absolute devotion, not desperation. I open to receive even before the how is clear. Now, the thing I hear over and over again about those kind of sentiments is that it feels passive. It's like, okay, so I trust the unseen. I open to receive before I know the how. I'm going to hold my desire with devotion, not desperation. Blah, 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 blah. It's like I'm sitting on the sofa with my hands out, expecting things to fall into my lap. into my hands. Right? Here's the thing I cannot stress enough. Co-creation isn't passive. It is something that you do from a place of power. It is co-creation. You are as much a part of the process as divinity, as the universe, the divine nature. When you step into that co-creative space and you step into it body, mind, and soul, not just from the mental of, okay, I have to believe that I can trust the universe. I have to believe that I'm going to get what I want. No, it's a whole body understanding, right? And when you are in that space, when you are in that state of being, you are aligned with the truth that you're not alone in your creation. You're not required to muscle your way to the manifestation. You are allowed to allow. You can cede control elsewhere. The divine has your back. And I know this is starting to sound like a bunch of platitudes. And yet, when you awaken that truth within you, it's a whole new ballgame. Right? The universe does not respond to your effort. It responds to your energy, to your frequency, to your being state. And your energy expands. A better way to say that. Your energy comes into the frequency of what you want the moment you stop gripping the outcome. The moment you start to release control of the outcome. Doesn't have to take a long time. It just has to be, it has to be more precise. Okay, so how do you do that? How do you reclaim your frequency? How do you shift from performing manifestation into the power of aligned receiving? To answer that question, let's talk about who you're becoming in the process. Right? Because the real shift here, right? We're moving our way. We're taking layer after layer off here in this conversation. But the real shift, right? You don't need to prove yourself to the universe. You get to become someone who allows the universe to support her. I'm going to say that again. You don't need to prove yourself to the universe. You get to become someone who allows the universe to support her. You're in this together. And I'm going to invite you to notice what happens in your body when I say to you, you get to become someone that allows the universe to support her. Notice the parts of you that are like relaxing into that. And notice what part of you, what parts of you, I should say, are like, hell no. Nope, not going to do it. And just notice. And it's okay. It's okay that those two parts are still there. As you notice them and maybe even can name them, it gets easier to work through it. Right? Manifestation is not a job. It's not a doing. right? It's not a performance. It is an identity. And the topic of our conversation today is why manifestation is feeling flat to you. And really, I want to flip that focus from manifestation to receiving. So receiving isn't a to-do. That's receiving isn't based on performance. It becomes an identity. I am one who receives. I am one who is supported. Okay. And so much of the work that I do with clients is helping them move out of the question, how? How do I make this happen? Right? So we switch that question to, who am I being while I allow this to arrive? So instead of saying, how do I make my numbers this month? We get to say, who do I get to be while I allow this to arrive this month? Okay? When you shift the beingness, you change everything. You change everything about all of the math equations that are happening between you and the universal goo. You are becoming someone who can receive without crossing 10 things off your to-do list. I was just talking with a colleague today, and she said to me, whenever I do something for myself, I get a squeeze. I get a feeling of guilt. I get this feeling like the other shoe is going to drop, right? She's much more comfortable in the action of doing for somebody else, right? Much more comfortable in saying, yeah, well, I've done these 5 things. Okay, so then I can take this one thing, right? So this whole process isn't about doing more. It's about being more available to receive. It's about becoming the version of you who walks through the world already knowing that the universe is conspiring in her favor. And you don't just know this with your mind because you're smart. You know that's the right answer. You've read enough books. You've been to enough classes. You know what the right answer is. Okay? But living it is something completely different. You get to live it with every choice you make. Every time you notice you don't have what you want, you get to flip back into, who do I get to be to allow it to flow? It can't just be when you've meditated and you're like, oh, I feel really good. Oh, yep. Oh, I can feel it all coming in. It has to be when you look at your bank account and you go, fuck. Or when you're looking at your marketing calendar and you're like, look at all those targets I haven't hit yet. That's when you get to pause and breathe and come back into this person who says, okay, I see it. That scares the shit out of me. I'm going to deal with those feelings. I'm going to deal with whatever beliefs, whatever thoughts are popping up because of that. And I'm going to shift back into this person who is learning to know in every cellular space of my body that I'm okay, I'm supported. I'm listening for that next inspired action. You get to become the person who's comfortable in the becoming. It's easy once that launch has gone really well. It's easy once you have a certain amount in your bank account to go, oh, yeah, I'm supported. You want to be someone who's comfortable in the becoming. right? You're not trying to convince life to give you what you want. You are becoming the kind of person that lives the truth. Life delights in supporting me. And when you carry that belief that life wants to support me, amazing, out of the box things start happening. Okay? You're going to open your email and there's going to be an opportunity in there. Support that you couldn't have possibly even imagined starts to show up out of nowhere. Right? I had a client who was at a doctor's appointment and got to chit-chatting about the topic that this client works with. And it turns out that this doctor had a kiddo in a school that this client wanted to get into to do a talk. And right, who wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, thank goodness for this sore throat, because that's going to lead me to the person who's going to," no, right? You can't possibly orchestrate it. Support is going to show up it's going to feel like it's out of the blue, but it's not out of the blue, because you have become the person who says, life supports me. I know that, right? Clients are going to come through referrals that you never expected. I am constantly delighted by the referrals that come through my inbox. People refer their mothers. People refer their cousins. People refer their in-laws. And you never know who that person's going to be. Never. So why does all of this happen? Why do all of these amazing, unexpected things happen? Because you are no longer chasing the outcome. You are no longer trying to, right, connect all the dots. You are inhabiting the frequency of having the outcome. So instead of chasing the outcome, you inhabit the frequency of it. It is like moths to a flame. Is there still action? Of course there is. You have to have a business structure. You have to have a way to connect with people. You have to have a way of being visible. You have to have programs that structure, right, that people can choose. You have to continually, I would say, energetically connect with your community, but however you do that, to understand what they're asking for, and you have to do the work. So it's not as if you are not a part of it, but it gets to be so much easier. All right, it gets to be more of a flow. And when that happens, there's so much more space for joy. There is literally space around you. You have so much more freedom. Okay. All right. So let's anchor this in. I'm going to invite you, if you're someplace where you can do it safely and closing your eyes feels safe, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And let's take a couple of deep breaths. And I'm going to invite you to imagine that you can drop your consciousness, this mind that has been listening to me talk for the last 45 minutes, right? We've been in a real cognitive mental zone. But imagine as you breathe deeply that you can drop your consciousness down towards your heart center. And don't worry about knowing how to do that. Just imagine sometimes it's easier even to first focus on your heart center. Right, it's right here in the center of your chest, and imagine that you can breathe in and out through your heart center. And as you're doing that, just simply invite your consciousness to drop down towards your heart center. The heart of your connection to the universe, to the soul. And from here, I'm going to invite you to ask to meet the version of you who's no longer chasing the outcome. The version of you who knows that she is supported and loved and so well resourced. The version of you who is already experiencing support and love and being well resourced. And let's ask this version of you a question. Who would I be if I let go of control? Who would I become if I let go of control? What do I have access to as I let go of control? And simply notice what comes up. Jot it down. Give yourself some space to receive whatever the answer is, and whatever it is, it's enough. Okay, very good. All right, you can always come back to that question, and I would invite you to do a little bit of journaling on it if you either didn't feel like you got information or if you feel like you didn't get complete information. Okay. And I want to remind you, you were never meant to manage your way to abundance. You were meant to align with it. The moment you stop trying to earn it, you start allowing it in. Okay, and remember, manifestation isn't performance. It's not a checklist. It's not something you perform. It's an energy that you embody. And the energy that you're embodying is receiving. Okay? You're not here to work for your desires. You're here to receive them. You were here to receive what it is that you want. And if you want support in rewiring your relationship to receiving at the very deepest level of your being, to rewire your relationship with money, with the divine, with your own inherent worth, I'm going to invite you to explore my 3-month private coaching immersion called The Sumptuous Receiver. And you'll see a link for it down in the comments. And if you are just starting out on this journey, I'm going to invite you to visit abundanceheartbreak.com. There you're going to find a free guided experience that's going to help you uncover one of the soul level patterns that has been blocking your abundance. Okay, so abundanceheartbreak.com. This is the work, right? The work is to embody the frequency of receiving. That's the work, right? So I just want to say thank you for being here. I'm so honored to share this space with you. If this spoke to you, please share it with someone else who you think could hear, who would love to hear this message. And then I will see you in the next episode of Receiving Rewired next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.